In the annals of Midwestern meteorology, few dates will be remembered with as much trepidation as April 15th, 2026. What was initially forecasted as a standard line of spring thunderstorms evolved into a once-in-a-century hail event that paralyzed the state of Iowa, causing damage so extensive that it has redefined the insurance and construction landscape of the American heartland. The day began with an eerie stillness. A powerful low-pressure system, centered over the Nebraska-Iowa border, began to tap into an unusually deep reservoir of tropical moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. Simultaneously, a sharp, cold Canadian air mass pushed southward, creating a dry line setup that meteorologists describe as a powder keg. By 3:30 p.m., the National Weather Service, NWS, in Des Moines, detected explosive vertical development on Doppler radar. Updrafts within the developing supercells were clocked at staggering speeds exceeding 120 miles per hour. These vertical winds were powerful enough to suspend ice pellets in the hail growth zone for an unprecedented duration, allowing layer upon layer of supercooled water to freeze, creating stones of terrifying proportions. At approximately 4:45 p.m., the first reports of guerrilla hail began to filter in from the western counties. In Harrison County, Dunlap and Woodbine report hail the size of baseballs. In Carroll and Greene counties, the storm intensifies. Hailstones measuring 4.5 inches, grapefruit size, are confirmed. The Des Moines Metro, the core of the storm, strikes the state capitol, shattering glass across the downtown skyline. In Waterloo/Cedar Falls, the second wave of the supercell delivers a carpet bombing of ice that lasts for 22 continuous minutes. The most harrowing impact of the April 15th storm was felt by Iowa's homeowners. Unlike typical hail that dents shingles, the 2026 ice bomb acted like kinetic weaponry. In thousands of homes, the hail didn't just damage the shingles, it punched through the plywood roof decking. In some neighborhoods in Waterloo, residents reported hailstones falling through their ceilings and landing in their living rooms. Modern vinyl and aluminum siding proved no match for the impact. Entire east-facing walls of apartment complexes were stripped to the insulation, leaving structures vulnerable to the subsequent 4 inches of torrential rain. An estimated 450,000 individual window panes were shattered across the state. This led to immediate interior water damage, destroying furniture, electronics, and irreplaceable personal documents. Iowa, a hub for massive data centers, saw several facilities suffer cooling system failures as hail pulverized the delicate fins of external HVAC units. Large big box retailers saw their flat roofs collapse under the combined weight of ice accumulation and clogged drainage systems. In Ankeny, a major distribution center reported over $40 million in ruined inventory due to roof breaches. Preliminary data from major insurance carriers suggests that over 180,000 vehicles have been declared total losses. A cluster of dealerships along the I-80 corridor lost their entire inventories. High-end SUVs and trucks were rendered unsalvageable, with pillars crushed and interiors flooded. Des Moines' bus fleet was crippled, with 40% of vehicles sidelined due to shattered windshields, causing a week-long paralysis of public transportation. While April is early in the planting season, the storm's impact on the soil and infrastructure was profound. The sheer force of the hail hitting the ground acted like a steamroller, compacting the soil and requiring farmers to retill thousands of acres. In rural Harrison County, farmers reported tragic losses of cattle that were caught in open pastures. The blunt force trauma from 4-inch ice stones proved lethal to smaller livestock and poultry. Grain bins, made of corrugated steel, now bear the permanent dimples of the storm, with many structural engineers fearing that the integrity of these bins for future harvests has been compromised. Despite the massive property damage, the loss of human life was miraculously low, thanks to the 20-minute lead time provided by NWS warnings. However, the medical impact was still significant. Emergency rooms saw an influx of patients with broken bones, concussions, and severe lacerations, mostly individuals caught outdoors or those struck by flying glass indoors. The sound of the storm, described by many as a relentless barrage of hammers, has left a lasting psychological impact on children and the elderly. State economists have released a staggering preliminary estimate: $2.8 billion in total economic loss. The labor shortage. Iowa now faces a construction vacuum. There are not enough roofers, glaziers, or siding contractors in the entire Midwest to handle the volume of claims. Experts predict that some homes will remain under blue tarps until well into 2027. The demand for asphalt shingles and tempered glass has caused prices to spike by 35% nationwide, as manufacturers pivot their entire output toward the Iowa recovery effort. Meteorologists at Iowa State University are pointing to the April 15th event as a harbinger of a new era of extreme convection. As the atmosphere warms, the energy available for these supercells increases. The ice bomb of 2026 is no longer considered a freak occurrence, but a new baseline for which the Midwest must prepare. "I've lived in Iowa for 70 years, says Martha Jenkins of Dunlap. "I've seen tornadoes, I've seen floods, but I have never seen the sky try to tear a house down stone by stone. It felt personal. The recovery will be measured in years, not months." As Iowans clear the shards of glass and the mangled metal from their lawns, there is a collective realization that while the ice has melted, the state has been permanently changed by the storm of April 15, 2026. Meanwhile, residents across Northeast Ohio are waking up to a landscape of shattered glass and dented steel following a violent severe weather event on Wednesday, April 15, 2026. A powerful line of thunderstorms swept through the region, dropping sheets of hail that many residents described as a bombardment from the sky. The National Weather Service, NWS, in Cleveland, issued multiple severe thunderstorm warnings throughout the afternoon as a volatile air mass collided with a strong cold front. By 6 p.m., the storm reached its peak intensity over Cuyahoga, Summit, and Trumbull counties, unleashing wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour and hailstones ranging from ping-pong ball to golf ball size. The structural damage in suburban communities like Solon and Bedford has been categorized as severe. Homeowners reported hailstones hitting windows with enough force to sound like baseballs being thrown at the glass. In many areas, vinyl siding was riddled with cracks and punctures from the ground level to the second floor. Heavy hail accumulation, reaching up to 4 inches in some neighborhoods, has led to widespread roof damage, prompting an immediate surge in insurance claims. The combined force of wind and ice toppled trees and utility poles, leaving over 5,000 First Energy customers without power at the height of the storm, particularly in Cuyahoga and Summit counties. The storm turned local roads and parking lots into automotive graveyards. Hundreds of cars suffered shattered windshields and extensive body damage. In Solon, local police cruisers were among the vehicles pounded by the heavy ice, sustaining significant dents and broken glass. Large hail and torrential rain briefly covered major arteries like I-271 in Bedford, creating dangerous driving conditions and forcing many motorists to seek shelter under overpasses. One of the most striking features of this event was the longevity of the ice. Hours after the storm cells had passed, large, solid piles of hail remained on the ground in the mid-70-degree weather, highlighting the sheer volume of ice dropped by the supercells. While total damage estimates are still being calculated, local officials expect this to be one of the most expensive hail events in the region's recent history. Roofing contractors and glass repair services have already reported a backlog of requests as residents begin the long process of securing their homes against future rain. The NWS warned that while the immediate hail threat has passed, the weather pattern remains active with additional rounds of rain expected through the weekend. Residents are urged to document all damage with photographs before starting repairs and to stay clear of downed power lines that may still be energized. In response to the NWS Cleveland call for damage reports on X, AJ Brilla reported hail larger than golf balls in Solon, a suburb of Cleveland. Brilla reported 4 inches of accumulation in areas. In a video shared in the Post, hail can be heard bouncing off the house and its deck. In the same X thread, Melissa Vlasak posted a photo of a cracked windshield and said the storm also damaged the hood and door panels. Vehicles at the Solon Police Department were heavily damaged by the hail. According to Beacon Journal news partner News 5 Cleveland, 19 of the 30 Solon cruisers were damaged by the hail. Damage reports were much the same elsewhere. On the NWS Cleveland Facebook post, reports of pea-sized hail in Akron grew to golf ball size to the north in Bedford, where hail ranged from 1 to 2 inches. More vehicle damage and house damage, including broken windows, were reported in Bristolville, in northern Trumbull County.
Vehicles are going to be.
Meanwhile, by 4:30 p.m., a lone supercell near Garden City began to show signs of extreme hail production. Satellite imagery confirmed cloud tops reaching 65,000 feet, indicating updrafts powerful enough to keep ice pellets suspended in the freezing layer for over 20 minutes. As the storm moved east along the Highway 50 corridor, it intensified. At approximately 7:15 p.m., the hail core, measuring nearly 10 miles wide, struck the city of Wichita and surrounding suburbs like Mays and Darby. NWS storm spotters confirmed hailstones measuring up to 4.75 inches in diameter, larger than a grapefruit. These were not smooth balls of ice, but jagged, multi-lobed rocks that hit the ground with terminal velocities exceeding 100 miles per hour. Residents described the experience as a literal artillery barrage. The roar was so loud you couldn't hear the sirens anymore, said John Miller, a resident of West Wichita. When the ice hit the roof, it sounded like the house was being dismantled by sledgehammers. In neighborhoods like Auburn Hills, nearly 95% of homes require total roof replacements. The hail was so large it didn't just dent shingles. It shattered the underlying wooden decking, leading to immediate water intrusion as 3 inches of rain followed the hail. Vinyl siding was transformed into confetti, and every west-facing window in some apartment complexes was pulverized. The damage wasn't just exterior. Glass shards were driven deep into interior walls, posing a significant injury risk. Kansas insurance adjusters are calling April 15th the single largest automotive loss event in state history. Major dealerships along Kellogg Avenue reported 100% inventory loss. Thousands of 2026 model vehicles were rendered unsalvageable, with pillars crushed and moonroofs completely caved in. Wichita police and fire departments saw dozens of emergency vehicles sidelined due to shattered windshields and light bars, hampering the immediate rescue response. While the wheat crop was in its early stages, the force of the hail was enough to strip leaves and compact the soil to the density of concrete. In rural Reno County, several ranchers reported significant livestock injuries and fatalities. The blunt force of grapefruit-sized hail proved lethal for calves and smaller farm animals that couldn't reach shelter. Modern steel grain bins were riddled with deep craters, raising concerns about the structural integrity of the state's storage infrastructure for the upcoming harvest. A large-scale solar array in western Kansas suffered catastrophic panel failure. Despite being rated for 1-inch hail, the 4-inch stones cracked the tempered glass of over 60,000 panels, knocking the facility offline. Wichita, known as the air capital of the world, saw significant damage to aircraft parked outdoors at Eisenhower National Airport. Private jets and general aviation aircraft suffered punctured control surfaces and ruined avionics. Preliminary estimates from the Kansas Department of Insurance place the total economic impact at $3.2 billion. The social impact is equally profound. Schools in the Mays School District were closed on April 16th and 17th due to extensive skylight damage and flooding. The state has declared a state of emergency, allowing out-of-state contractors to expedite the massive rebuilding process. As cleanup begins, meteorologists are warning that the hail alley is shifting. The intensity of the April 15th, 2026 storm suggests that the frequency of these super hail events is increasing. This wasn't just a storm, it was a wake-up call, said a spokesperson for the NWS. Our building codes and emergency preparations were designed for the storms of the 20th century. April 15th showed us what the 21st century has in store.
These windows don't open, by the way. They do now. At least they get. These were stationary windows up until about 5 minutes ago. It's 75 degrees outside.